Good evening, Wrestle Talk Show fans, and welcome to another edition of Wrestle Talk Show. I'm your host, Joshua Zimmerman, again here for another edition of Wrestle Talk Show. Today's focus is WWE releases its third quarter earnings report, third quarter financials. First of all, like we always do on every episode, we want to thank our YouTube and Facebook following. We encourage more and more of you to subscribe, as once again, the male demo is 85% of the audience and the female is 15%. So thank you, ladies, for the increase in attention. Like I said, WWE released its third quarter results, and the comparisons we're going to give you are based on 2010, based on a 9-month period, this time in 2010 and this time in 2009, and I'll break down all the differences. Pay-per-views seen a huge, $7.3 million loss. They were pay-per-view buys at this time last year were at $63.7 million, and this year they pulled in 56.4. Just to narrow down the important stuff right away for you. Live TV and entertainment for this year, $249.5 million. This time last year, $251.2. Digital media, which is basically their website, this year $18.6 million. Last year, $22.2 million. Just to break down the losses in a minute. They averaged a total revenue for this year in the third quarter of $355.1 million. Last year it was $357.9. So a slight overall drop, but not real big when you look at, what I'm about to tell you in the bigger picture, so to speak. Getting back on track, live events in 2010, 78 million. 2009 were 79.6. So that's a $1.6 million loss. Again, pay-per-view with the $7.3 million loss. Venue merchandise, 2010, it's at 14.7 million. 2009, it was at 15.2. So that's a $500,000 loss for the company there. Because who really wants to pay $30 for it? This is the part I wanted to comment on. When you see a John Cena shirt at a WWE event for $30 just because, and I have an authentic WWE shirt, it says WWE Authentic all over the place. I mean, it's one thing to put it on the tag, but they've got a tag at the bottom of the shirt that says WWE Authentic. It's like needless. And who wants to pay $30 when in 2 hours after that Monday Night Raw, if the screen printing's done right and stuff like that, you can get the guy in the parking lot that'll sell you a John Cena shirt for $10. And yeah, it fades after a couple wears, but if you get a decent one, you actually know by when you grab it whether or not you're buying a $5 t-shirt or a halfway decent one for somebody to make a quick $10. My point is, you can celebrate the event without spending $30. So it's no surprise to see any kind of loss in that department, if you ask me. Things you know, and basically TV rights and fees, basically every time the characters are used, every time WWE's mentioned, etc., etc. Television rights for Raw, SmackDown, and pay-per-views. In 2010, they earned $91.3 million. in that department. In 2009, it was 81.5. So that's a $9.8 million gain right there. So you can see that losing $2 million in overall revenue is really no big deal. Uh, Sadly, though, there was no space for Linda McMahon's campaign. That was $40 million easy. Um, TV advertising in 2010, they've earned $4.5 million thus far. In 2009, they earned 5.5. That's a $1 million loss in advertising. When they advertise a pay-per-view that nobody buys anyway, or an event that nobody watches, then it becomes a loss. But you guys know this. I'm just kind of giving you the best breakdown I can. Magazine publishing, WWE Magazine. This was an interesting one. 2010, they've earned $7.9 million. 2009 at this time, the magazine had earned $9.9 million. That's a $2 million loss. Nobody, I don't know. When it's not believable storylines or characters you can follow, or, shit you can get into and it's worth spending $50 at the end of the month to see a conclusion, then maybe I would read the ins and outs of the characters and whatnot. But when you have them every couple months, Pro Wrestling Illustrated magazines come out, they give you, it's a $10 magazine, but it gives you every single wrestling promotion, every match, every victory for the 6 months or a year, however often they publish. I think that's a better buy than, I don't know, $24.95 for 12 issues isn't bad, but alone the magazine sells for $7. And there's nothing current, there's nothing interesting in wrestling right now to merit wanting to read the backstories, because nobody cares about the stories that you're watching on TV. They score a 3.1 because of the name. I'm really starting to think. And in the numbers you can see, people are used to the name. So where they dropped, they didn't drop big because, let's face it, we've been saying this for months and since the buyout. They're the only popular, well-known, outside of your ROHs and TNA, if you want to call that wrestling. But they're the major name in wrestling, and they kind of know it, so they coast from year to year. WWE.com, the website itself, made $10.4 million at this point this year, and in 2009 they made $12.9. That's a $2.5 million loss. And here's the one I was interested to read. WWE Shop, the website that gets advertised on every WWE event, where you can pay, there's usually like a $5 difference from live events to the website. For $5 cheaper, you can buy authentic WWE merchandise at $25 a shirt. In 2010, so far, it's earned $8.2 million. In 2009, it had made $9.3. So far, that's a $1.1 million loss. So, some people are either not able to afford it or already know the secret when you go to concerts and shit like that. Doesn't take an idiot to figure it out. Another one I wanted to read up on, WWE Studios, considering they produce so many movies that in 2 weeks go to DVD. Hey, did you know that next week, Knuckleheads, the movie that came out last week, that'll be on DVD in a week. So here's how it goes, ladies and gentlemen. WWE releases a film. makes a couple $1,000,000. Sometimes barely makes back the money that it spent. A week and a half, it stays in select theaters. And if you look at Knuckleheads, it was released that it was only released in 6 theaters nationwide. So who the fuck saw it? Moving on. Not a good way to use the character if nobody's going to see his movie. That's all I'm trying to get at there. Um, WWE Studios. Right now they've earned $11.6 million. Now this is where, like I said, it's the shocker and it's kind of odd because it doesn't seem like the movies go real far. In 2009, it had made 7.5. So their filmmaking has already earned them $4.1 million. So I guess I'll stop bashing. Like I said, I guess the whole philosophy of theaters for a week and a half, 2 weeks, Walmart for however long Walmart carries it, and then you can rent it at Redbox. So I guess they're making their money because people are spending $1 a day for the 24-hour rental. But they're making good cake there. To wrap this up and kind of give you the news, since we kind of did it a little backwards tonight. If you look at the profit growth, like I said, through a 9-month period, this time 2010 and this time last year, they've seen a $7.8 million profit growth overall. This year so far, from last year, they've made $34.9 million. So they're doing something right. It's just not, I don't know, the product is not entertaining outside of this Nexus angle that if they don't screw it up, will work. But we'll see what happens. But it does look like they're coasting though, which doesn't say anything for the company because they haven't gone out of their way. The titles mean nothing. The championships. Like, they used to be coveted, and when you had a match, it wasn't a quick spoof match and shit like that. And, you know, the storylines were better. You wanted to see what happened, and like I said in other videos, I think if the brand split wouldn't have happened, it was interesting to see what happened on Raw carry over to SmackDown, where all the wrestlers were part of both shows. Raw would carry into SmackDown, SmackDown would carry into Raw, sometimes SmackDown would carry into Heat, which would lead up to Raw, and then you had your Heat, your Sunday Night Heat, that you wanted to see for all the free on the 3rd or 4th week for the pay-per-view lead-ins and whatnot. I think they have too many pay-per-views themselves. I think these numbers show it. 13, 14, between 13 and 15 a year. It used to be once a month. Now they're bi-weekly. Here's the theory. Like every other columnist has said online. Cut it in half. Do 4 to 6 a year. This way you can make your stories more interesting and your build-up more interesting. So when somebody spends $50, it's for good reason because they're not going to see the conclusion any other way. On that note, we're going to wrap up and thank all of you for watching again. You can see this video and many other videos along with my blogs that usually are attached with the videos or my thought at the time at WrestleTalkShow.webs.com. Show email to cwecompany@gmail.com, and visit us on Facebook and Twitter. Until next time, thank you.